What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Couple Things.
With Sean and Andrew.
A podcast all about couples.
And the things they go through.
We just left counseling. Should we go back?
Stop. No.
Okay.
You're playing. Life is good.
Life is great. We wanted to give you a little update on life this past week because the craziest 2 weeks of our life are finally over, which is great.
It was a great 2 weeks. They were full. I wouldn't describe it like hectic or busy. It was like just full of good stuff that we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And we were executing on all cylinders.
It did feel very full. I will say my cup of time with kids is a little empty.
Really?
Yeah. It really is.
You have not told that to me, so I'm glad you're saying it now. Thank goodness for podcasts.
Well, I will say last week there was really nothing we could do about it because of work, so I didn't think it was something I should obsess over because they were in great hands with grandma and grandpa. But this week, my cup needs filled up with the kids.
Sean's just such a big time celebrity. She's doing all these big productions, bunch of cameramen, takes all day, the whole thing, which takes you away from kids.
Olympic years are crazy, man.
They finished up school. The kids did.
They did. It is officially summer. I spent probably 5 hours total so far working on the summer schedule. And I don't want our summer schedule for the kids to be too concrete. It was just what different activities can we cycle through? Pool days, play dates, go to the art museum, all these different things. Try to get the schedule laid out for travel. It's going to be an epic summer.
And for those listening that have kids and you're at a point where you're like, I actually don't know what to do with my kids when they're at home. Here are some starter pack ideas that we have just realized recently. You can take them to the local library.
Yep.
Because you know what? The library probably has some book readings or some events for kids. Don't forget about the library. It's a sleeper. Museums. The kid just went to an art museum. They loved it. The museum had a little drawing station for the kids there. Parks.
Parks are the best. Zoo. Festivals or farmers markets of any kind.
Yeah. We don't like to overbook our kids, but we do like to have stuff to do. We'd like to have options to be aware of.
I feel like both of our kids are super active and like to be doing things. And so if we're in the house too much, they get stir crazy. So I always want to make sure we don't have more than 1 or 2 days a week where they're at home all day.
Please share some of your activities you do with kids because we could use them. One of the things they're going to do this summer, I believe, is gymnastics. And it's a relevant time to be talking about that because this past weekend was U.S. Classics?
Core Classic.
Core Hydration Classic.
Yep.
No free shout-outs. Core Hydration.
It is the first qualifier towards the selection of the Olympic team in U.S. artistic gymnastics for the Paris Olympics. And I have some thoughts. We have never done this before, but there are 2 specific things, maybe 3 things, a few things that I really wanted to talk about. I feel compelled to talk about. The first of which, for the first time in U.S. history, 3 returning all-around Olympic champions competed in the same event.
That's pretty sweet.
And I Suni Lee, Gabby Douglas, Simone Biles.
Boom.
I want to make that as big of a deal as possible because I think there's a lot of weight in that, in the sense of if you grew up in the generation of gymnastics that I grew up in, before the quote fall of USA Gymnastics, there was this stigma around USA Gymnastics that you could never return or repeat to gymnastics because if you were older than 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, you weren't able to keep up. You weren't good enough. You couldn't withstand. It was like the survival of the fittest. They looked down upon an older aged girl, the maturity level, all of these things. And to now see 3 returning, some of which are still competing in college, ones who have completed college, ones who have retired for years on end and now come back, I think is just a testament to what the new government of USA Gymnastics has done for the sport. And I think it's amazing.
So, quick recap. 2008, Nasty Lukin, all-around champion. 2012, Gabby Douglas, all-around champion. 2016, Simone Biles, all-around champion. 2020, Suni Lee.
I am so proud of you.
3 of the 4 of those are competing now, which is crazy that
Crazy.
Gabby Douglas, 12 years after she wins the all-around, is still competing, to your point.
Yes.
That's crazy. I remember you saying that Alicia Sacramone competing in, does she compete in 2?
Yep.
That's a huge deal because usually it's like a one-and-done situation.
It was a huge deal.
But now people are doing it for multiple cycles.
And I truly think it's a testament to everything that the girls, Simone, Allie, Gabby, Jordan, all of them have truly fought for in our sport, which is a new government, people valuing the athletes over the success and the win. And it has shown. It's encouraged them to stay within the sport because they feel supported by it, which I think is really cool.
Whole culture change.
Whole culture change.
Whole culture change. But you have thoughts.
Second thought was Gabby Douglas's return. I was so excited to see her back in the sport.
What's your background with Gabby Douglas, babe?
We go way back. So in 2010, Gabby Douglas, as a little pipsqueak, I say that in the best way, walks into Chow's Gymnastics, and we immediately become teammates and training partners. And she was so young back then. But I remember watching her, like, quote, try out. And I was like, holy crap. I don't know if I want her in this gym. She's too good. She was incredible. She's one of the most talented gymnasts I've ever seen. I remember Chow even saying that. And we got to train together for almost 4 years. And I adore her. I adore everything she is. I think she's a phenomenal human. I think she is made of steel. And I think in certain areas of her life, in her journey towards becoming an Olympic all-around champion, she's just been dealt a bad hand in the sense of obstacles or, just obstacles. If you want to dig back into the archives, you can find them. But through all of that, she has persevered and she has come back into this sport. And she looks like an actual beast of an athlete. She looks stronger than she has ever looked. And watching her in warm-ups and watching her get ready to compete, she looks amazing. And it just made me so proud to see. I think she's fought her way back to this on her own. And it's really admirable. And did she have the greatest showing? No. She fell a couple times on bars and then ended up pulling herself out of the competition. And I just want to say, there are trolls all over the internet who are salivating at the opportunity to jump on things like this and tear someone apart. But all I wanted to do was say it. I give so much respect to her, and I cannot imagine competing in today's world filled with so much social media and extra voices and stress. I don't know how athletes deal with that.
I hesitate to even share my thoughts on gymnastics because you're the GOAT. But it was just knowing a little bit of the background, seeing her there 12 years after she won the all-around, and realizing how fragile it is, the mental condition that you need to be in to perform well in gymnastics. Mm-hmm. It's such a fragile thing, right? And when you're young, you have the advantage of not having like this treacherous history behind you that throws your mental game off, or you have demons in the closet or of whatever sort. Now Gabby comes back and she has all these expectations. There's all this chatter about she's going to do great, she's going to be bad. She has all these complications with like the whole business infrastructure is different now because she's a champion, and there's like so many pressures. And for her to just like have the courage to step into that and say, I'm doing it because I love it. I got chills even thinking about it. Like that is amazing what she did. And it's not easy. Chelsea Mimmel did it where it's like, you have a reputation kind of, right? And why ruin it? Why go back? You could just retire on top. But she wanted to because she loved it. Proud of her.
I'm really, really hopeful. Let me be very transparent here. I don't know how the newest system works. I don't know if it's only by qualification of score that you can go on to the next meet. I don't know if wild cards are still on the table. all that to say, I really, really, really want to see her at the next competition. I want her to know just she's got an army of people out there supporting her and wanting nothing but the best for her. And if that means she's like done and she's like, oh, this actually isn't my thing anymore, great. I support her with that. But if she wants to give it another shot, I just want her to know no trolling on this side. And if you're a part of the East fam, you're not trolling because, Gabby, you're a frickin' boss. Which leads me to the last thing that I wanted to go on a rant about. You and I have talked about this, and it makes me really, really sad. I actually brought it up in counseling today with my counselor because I was like, this bothers me so much, and it's something that bothers me about the world. Simone Biles is back. Of course, because she's the greatest athlete in the history of our sport. And she ate up the competition. She looked flawless, like she always does. And sitting front row at her first competition back was her husband, which also so cool. I don't know how many U.S. gymnasts have actually had spouses in the audience. As a testament to like age in the sport, which I think was so cool to see. Were you gonna say something?
No, we have not talked about this. Whatever you're about to say.
We have. You'll get there. And Simone actually posted something. So this is the 2 days after the competition. Right now that we're filming this, and she posted on her stories is 3 pictures of her and her husband post competition. And she says, I'm going to quickly address this. The joke was never a joke. Y'all are blatantly being disrespectful to my relationship and my husband. So I'm going to go ahead and say this one time respectfully, F off. And if you keep commenting or tweeting at me, I'm just going to block you. Simple as that.
What happened?
I think what happened is what you and I have talked about before. I've seen it on social media. People, for some reason, feel really compelled to tear their relationship apart. And I want to, again, similar to like a Gabby situation, I want to stand with Simone and be like, back off. That is not your marriage. And social media can tear people down so easily. And the fact that people are feeling like it's okay for them to inject themselves within their marriage, I think is wild to me.
Well, what happened? What's the backstory? I'm so curious.
I don't know. I don't have the details of it, nor do I think it's appropriate for me to have the details. But I do think people have in the past torn him apart for ridiculous things. They interpret his demeanor that is shown exclusively on media as, not up to par to their standards towards being Simone Biles' husband, which I think is everything that I just say I want to throw into a trash bin because it doesn't make sense.
Wait, so you're saying people have, because Simone is the greatest athlete in gymnastics history, they have expectations of who she needs to marry?
Yes.
And then if those expectations aren't met, then there's a lot of commentary around that?
Yes. They're like, oh, he didn't look happy enough, or oh, he didn't respect her enough in the words he chose to use in an interview. And to all of that, I want to say, do you realize social media and the media shows maybe a millisecond of a lifetime? And 2, they have chosen each other. They are each other's people. They have gotten married. It is in no way, shape, or form appropriate for the world of outsiders to be judging that.
Yeah, a couple
and
thoughts.
It makes me sad.
I mean, it is interesting to separate people's adoration of Simone as a gymnast versus they know her as a gymnast. They don't know her as a person. And for them to try to extrapolate, this is who you should be based off of the talent that she has, doesn't make much sense upon further investigation. It also makes me think about how disappointed people must be in you to marry a long snapper. I'm kidding, baby. I love self-deprecating humor. It's not like a friggin'.
I know, but I love that within us. But take that one step further to have the world then jump on that bandwagon potentially, right?
Well, so this is the other thought though. Like, okay, there's always going to be people who have opinions. Whatever. That's the world that Simone has entered into as a great athlete, being in front of millions of people. It's a world that we've entered into, you for the same reason, and then us with making a podcast. You open yourself up to commentary.
Yeah.
I think I disagree with Simone in responding that way, because what good does that do other than encourage people to be like, I'm going to do more of that. I'm going to do more of this commentary that clearly she doesn't like because she's responding to me. They feel heard to her. Our strategy has always been, if it's a negative comment, you don't give it the light of day.
Yeah.
If it's a positive comment, you respond to that, and you kind of reap what you sow.
But hold on. To a certain extent, I totally agree with her 1,000% though, because she just debuted her craft again, right? People chose to watch the Core Classic and watch Simone Biles to see gymnastics.
Okay.
I would be so frustrated if the only thing you took away from that was critiquing my marriage.
Okay, but here's a thought. Simone, there's a bunch of amazing athletes competing. She is pretty established as the best. So the plot line of interest in the competition is thin. So let's find a plot line elsewhere, is kind of how people stop.
You're basically saying she's so good at gymnastics, people are just desperate to find something to critique the perfection of.
Unfortunately, that's the state of humanity.
But in the context of our show, where all we talk about is relationships and marriage and how wonderful it is, doesn't it make you so sad, though, that something so beautiful within their life, like the true good there, that is being shown on national television, is the one thing it's the first thing that is torn down?
First of all, we're feeding into it right now. She's in many ways telling us to F off respectfully, because here we are doing commentary.
Fine, we'll delete this whole
No.
segment.
You see my point.
I know, but it just makes me sad.
Because you love that she's married and you want them to thrive.
Yes.
Me too.
There is a excited, happy, loving husband sitting front row at his wife's competition.
That's cool to see.
Clapping, cheering, yelling, kissing, screaming. And it's just like, yeah, that's amazing.
I'm so curious what the thing that she read that pushed her over the ledge was. Maybe I again, I have no idea what she's responding to. It does seem like it's something around the marriage. Maybe the comment that he made a couple months ago about, what do you say, being the better athlete?
Yeah, which was joking.
Maybe. But he was a great athlete. She's a great athlete. That's all I know. Both better athletes than I am.
I don't know. It just made me sad. I wanted to vent on it. Fine, we'll move on.
No. You know what I want to do? We have a whole podcast scripted here, and it's going to be great, and we're going to do it later. But for this episode, I know. We're closing the script. We're going unscripted, babe. Buckle up.
I'm scared.
Since we're on the topic.
Of what?
I wanted to talk about some of your favorite gymnastics moments.
Wow.
Okay? And I want us to start, before we get there, with you giving us background on falling in love with the sport and the effect that it had on your life, just from the sport standpoint. The training while you're in it.
Okay, wow. I fell in love. Okay, let me give you the background story, the cliche story. I was put in gymnastics at the age of 3. This was after my parents put me in ballet and dance, and I basically got kicked out of it because I had way too much energy. I couldn't stand in line or listen to the instructors. Sounds like one of the kids we have.
Definitely does. Spot on.
Spot on. And so my parents walked me into a gymnastics gym. I had so much energy around the house. I had already been to the ER a few times. Sounds similar. Staples, stitches. I thought I could fly as a kid. And they were just desperate to find an outlet for my energy. So they walked me into a gymnastics gym. I found the trampoline and fell in love. That was my first falling in love moment with gymnastics because it truly made me feel invincible. I loved the stomach in your throat feeling. I loved the adrenaline of it. I loved being able to just run wild and free. It was amazing. And I would go home tired, so my parents loved it. Fast forward, I was moved to Chow's Gymnastics at the age of 5 or 6. He had just opened the gym in West Des Moines, Iowa, and my parents moved me there because it was closer to our house and it saved gas money. So I could basically stay in gymnastics longer because of the budgeting side of our family. Never knew that, it would turn into something. And my second falling in love moment was at that gym. I fell in love with Chow. He was a child at heart. And unlike the first gym, I didn't have any negative experience there. But the first gym was more structured. And Chow, just his goal in life as a coach at Chow's Gymnastics at the time with all of us was to let us be kids and run wild and have fun and learn gymnastics. And I truly felt like within Chow's Gymnastics, it was this safe haven of being able to play as a kid and just learn amazing things.
Purposeful play?
For sure.
Because it's there's one thing to play on the playground. It's another thing to have Chow, who you just mentioned, meant a lot to you. Kind of have you play towards a goal.
Yeah, it was truly play. So he always had these terms that was really funny. Even as a kid, we would come in at different seasons of the year and he'd be like, we are in the shopping season. This is day 1 of shopping. And I remember he would show us on his phone or on a computer different skills. And he'd be like, which one do you want to try? And we literally, as in his terminology, got to shop the gymnastics, book of skills.
I've never heard this.
We would just get to play for weeks on end, and we would find little niches, each and every one of us individually, into different skills that we thrived with and they made us happy. And that happiness turned into a passion that he would foster. And it was really cool. And then we would spend the rest of the year working on the perfecting of it and the execution and turning it into a routine that then we got to perform.
Wow. That's excellent strategy on his
part. It was
part.
Beautiful.
I was just reminded of the feeling. I literally had this thought before I knew we were going to talk about this, but Bear is learning how to crawl.
Yeah.
He's 5 months and learning how to crawl. And I put him down next to the couch. Just so happened his feet rested on the side of the couch and he was pushing off it. And I was remembering that feeling of learning something new physically like that. I was like, I haven't felt it in a long time, but watching him. Are you burping over there?
I am. Sorry.
Watching him, I was like, oh my gosh, that was so fun when you learned how to do my first one-handed catch or sprinting for wide open for the first time, or when you learn how to do shuttle cuts. And it's oh, I miss that. I miss that so much. And then the playfulness side of it there is an aspect of engagement and curiosity and excitement that I think makes the stickiness of what you're doing greater when you're playful with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you're able to incorporate that into a broader purpose, such as a gymnastics dance routine. Thank you. Is awesome, right? It's okay, now you're not that everything needs to have this greater purpose, but the playfulness was for a purpose.
Mm-hmm. It was really cool with Chow how he was able to preserve that for so long. He always said his mission was to preserve the joy of a child. And his history was kind of taken away from him within the Chinese training system of gymnastics. There was no enjoyment. It was just job. And when he came to the United States and opened his own gym, he wanted to reverse that. And he wanted all of us to truly be kids and play, and at the same time learn the discipline and routine that it took to make it to the next level. And he did a phenomenal job. I can remember all the way into the elite level, still feeling like a kid that got to go play in the gym.
Which makes a difference. Back to the Gabby Douglas thing. Like, when you're on the bars, having to full send the thing with no reservation.
Yeah.
Any mental hiccups or pause or fears or baggage, like, you're hanging on to the bar for a split second longer, which throws off your timing. And if you're playful, it just frees you up. Anyway, that's my thought. You're not done yet answering the question.
What was the other? I forgot the second part of the question. What was it?
What were some of the things you took away from gymnastics? I'm asking this partially having come from counseling, where you talk about the things that shape you. And I don't know, the term perfectionism came up today at some point.
I was going to say, this is really interesting because my counseling session was potentially about a lot of like the baggage that came from gymnastics that wasn't good. So I'm trying to like skew that in the light of giving the good things. And before we go down the route there of like what baggage and whatever, something that I said in counseling is we're working on this chapter of like forgiveness and learning how to forgive wholeheartedly, things that have gone on in your life. And I'm working on forgiving the little girl that was hurt in gymnastics. And that's not by Chow, and that's not by Larry Nassar, and that's not it was truly by insecurities with my body and perfectionism and obsessiveness and feeling like I had a job at 16 that had to, carry the weight of a lot of people. And I'm working on that. The things in my sport that I absolutely adored and that I loved and I have learned and taken away from is something that Chow taught me from the very beginning. And he's truly one of the people I respect the most in my life, was this concept of like gymnastics is the best sport in the world because it's one of the only sports in the world where you literally have to fall on your face and fail at something 1,000,000 times before you ever succeed at it. And within the sport of gymnastics, I don't know how many skills there are, but I think there are thousands. I think within my career, I probably learned at least 1,000 or 2. With every single one of those individual skills, I had to fail at it miserably for a long period of time before I ever got it right. And I think that's a massive life lesson that I've taken with me. I might not be good at it, but it's something that I love that I learned at a young age. What?
It's so fascinating to couple that with perfectionism.
For sure. It's hard to couple it because what's interesting about my sport is the evolution of it from my career. I started out not good at gymnastics. I was just fearless. And I spent 15 years perfecting it and getting to this obsessive place in my life that led to the Olympics, to where nothing else in the world mattered except perfection.
Which, if you've ever seen Sean's beam routine, I've not seen that many in my life, but hers is my favorite person. We'll play it here for you. It's really good.
Okay.
It's really good.
So at such a young age where like your brain is still forming in such a monumental way, I was taught the obsession of perfection. So now transitioning out of gymnastics, yes, failure is what leads to success. But then when you reach success, you have to attain perfection. That's the thing I have to break.
That's interesting. Okay, so falling on your face.
What are some other things that I've learned?
Yeah.
Life lessons?
I just think it's good. It's definitely good to see the scars that have shaped you. I also think it's good to see the blessings that have brought you here.
I think it's overflowing in blessings.
So tell me.
What else? This is such a vague prompt, babe. I'm trying to.
It is. It's very vague.
Yeah, I'm trying to hone in. You want to skew it anyway, or you want me to just go off the vague? The vague. Okay.
It's partially purposely vague.
Okay. Another life lesson. I was a debilitatingly shy kid. I truly was. I could not have a conversation with people. I couldn't look people in the eye. In school, I felt like a misfit. I couldn't really find my group of people that I could click with. I just always felt like this misfit. Gymnastics gave me a sense of community that I never wanted to let go of. Andrew and I talked about this too this morning, I think, or yesterday, of being an only child. I didn't have those siblings to go home with and share such a close bond with that I could play and laugh and giggle and run around the house. And I had myself, I had my parents. And so gymnastics gave me this place, this community of truly like sisters that I could lean on. I could go into a gym and play and gain confidence through my skills, gain confidence in myself, gain confidence in the world. And it built up this armor in me that I was able to like take on everything else outside of it. And I don't know if that's a life lesson, but it taught me about building a community around you, which was really cool.
I like how you said that. The community was your armor.
Yeah.
One more.
Oh my gosh, baby. Okay, here's one. This was truly all Chow, but he tried his absolute best to preserve this as long as possible within a professional career. He valued self-improvement more than any other external competition. And what I mean by that is, even at the Olympics, Chow could have cared less about who I was competing against. The only thing he might have internally, but what he never told me, what he always valued in his words, in his actions, was, did I do the best that I possibly could do? Did I give it my all? Did I try my hardest? Did I do a little bit better than I did last time? It was always a solo competition. And he would be the first person to say, make sure you tell every girl competing, good job, and hug them and reward them, even if they're standing on a higher podium, because it's not about them. It's about your competition against yourself. And I think that always made me a better competitor because I was never obsessed with watching other people. It was always this internal drive to do better than I did the day before. And it drove me, I think, more than watching competition because I had to create my own standard. But I think I've really tried to take that into outside life of, I have to remind myself of it a lot, but don't look at other people to drive your ambitions. It's truly like what internally is driving you.
Don't compare yourself to anybody except the person you were yesterday.
Yeah. Which we've also talked about is very different because you relied on a team where I never did. Coming from like a solo competitor status to a team status is very different.
Yeah. Coming from the team side, I look at individual sports. I'm like, dang, that really puts you to a test in a way that team sports do not. On the other hand, I think team sports teach you a lot of beautiful things of encouragement, of understanding your role in that, of relaxing control on things that you don't have a role in. Sports are great, dude. I love them.
Sports are great.
I was at the national championship for NCAA tennis yesterday. My buddy Ryan Lippman was coaching the Texas Longhorns. Shout out Ryan. They lost. But here's what I realized.
They came in second.
Thank you. Thank you. That's good. I just think I love sports because it ingrains in you at a young age how to learn from a coach, how to listen well, how to cooperate, teaches you the discipline. It teaches you that if you do A, then B might result, right? There's like a meritocracy involved. And then tennis, by the way, it's a whole different world than football. But yesterday there was a grown man for the other team that was like
In the audience.
Yeah, was yelling at the refs and like belittling this little 20-year-old. This guy's probably 45, 50. And and he was getting shamed by the people around him, which I think is a good thing. I think had he had more of that community around him to set him straight, that old guy wouldn't be who he is today. And that's what sports is, especially like team sports again. It's like you need to respect other people, and you need to understand that we're all in this together and we're learning. And what? Am I disrespecting him now?
No.
What is this?
You're proving my point about Simone.
100% I agree. Yes.
I don't think it's Simone's fault that she's opening herself up to criticism. I think it's the world's fault of not respecting her craft.
More people need to play sports. I agree.
Yeah.
We all need to play sports.
Yeah.
I just think that it also trains you how to behave when there's something at stake, when there's something on the line. Are you going to win at all costs? If that means cheating or doing something shady or taking a shortcut or belittling the other person, or are you going to actually like stare the competition in the face and say, you're freaking good, but I'm going to be better. And thank you for challenging me in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else I want to go on a tangent on? Anything else you want to go on a tangent on?
Is there anything else about this? Is one of your only chances to get gymnastics stories out of me. Is there anything else you want?
Do you realize that we will be in Paris largely for the purpose of gymnastics commentary?
For sure.
Sean and I really don't talk a lot about gymnastics, or I talk way more about football, which is hilarious given how short my career was versus yours.
Your career was amazing,
My
baby.
my list of accolades was in
Andrew
comparison
Dean.
Everything about
Do you want to
me
know
is-
something? You absolutely amaze me.
Thank you.
You have accolades to your name that I aspire to have.
Thank you.
You don't give yourself enough credit. And yes, when it comes to us being in Paris because of my accolades, here's the deal. I agree. My gymnastics was great. I get it.
Okay.
But I am not competing anymore. That spotlight is not for my gymnastics anymore. Can I appreciate everything that I did? Yes. But my gymnastics back in 2008 has now given me a platform to help celebrate those that are competing today.
Love that. Yes, that's fantastic.
So, doing all these let's watch Sean's beam routine. I love because you're a husband who is so excited to support me and celebrate me. But my duty now is not to look back at myself. It's to celebrate Simone and Gabby and Suni and everybody competing.
Love that. Yes. I admire that. This is the thing I always talk about. You are so incredibly talented, so incredibly humble simultaneously. I do think there's more than what you're seeing in that you talking about this stuff, you talking about Simone from a place of having been an Olympic champion yourself actually does celebrate her. So I know you have reticence in talking about gymnastics because you don't want it to be about you and you feel like that's a past version of yourself and whatever. But if you really want to, I think, do what you're saying, which is celebrate the other people, you being the megaphone is way better than whoever on the internet doing it. You know, some rando that has no authority to speak on this.
Sure. Yes.
So it's a challenge for you because we're going to be talking about gymnastics more. I think it's humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is don't try to be like, I'm going to try to make myself smaller and all my accomplishments smaller. No, it's just this is who you are. God made you to be a dope freaking
I'm
gymnast.
not trying to make my accomplishments smaller. I just don't think they need to be. I don't think it's the time for me to like bring back up my career. I think it's the time for me to use my career and say, watch Simone.
Yes.
Let's talk about Simone.
But when you say use your career, it's like, hey, that was an incredible beam routine. She did that so flawlessly and graciously, and I would know because I did 4 flips on a freaking balance beam too.
But I don't need to say that.
Are we saying the same thing in different ways, or
I don't know.
Do
You
we
guys
actually have a
tell
different
us.
perspective?
I don't know.
Thank you for gracing us with one of the only times we'll ever hear you talk about gymnastics. I'm not here to talk about gymnastics all the time either. I like gymnastics. I like other sports more. I'll tell you that much.
Really? I had no clue. Watching gymnastics is like pulling teeth for you.
No, what are you saying? I was fully oh my gosh.
Really?
Sean was trying to like you want me to watch it fully engage and then also like engage. I was enjoying it.
Really?
I love watching gymnastics.
Thank
it's incredible.
You. It is.
Is that all we got? We were supposed to do a whole different episode. This turned into a tangent. But
I will say this on the topic of a couple things, and you and I can't imagine competing while being married. I would love to know the dynamic, because I say that because when I was competing, here you go, throwing you a bone here. I was so obsessive and selfish towards my career. I don't know how people who are spouses are able to juggle that.
Well, I think Simone would say respectfully, "Fuck you." No.
Me?
that didn't play like I wanted.
It didn't. It didn't.
Yeah. Say more.
Well, there's no more to say there.
You're saying relationships take a certain amount of time that you're not sure you had.
Yeah.
While competing.
I'm just fascinated by that dynamic. I feel like there's a lot of like there's even competing spouses at the Olympics, like where both of them are competing. And I would love to know how that balance works out.
Yeah, if you're one of those couples, let us know. We'd love to have you on the show too.
Please tell us.
I'm sure there's a understanding that this is a phase and we're probably going to see each other less as we both train aggressively.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's cool. I'm glad she's doing it like she is.
I'm so excited for it. I think it is changing the sport, which I think is so cool. I think she has changed the sport more than anybody else ever will.
Well done, Simone.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of gymnasts everywhere.
Is that all we got?
That's all we got.
Okay. Let's wrap this sucker up.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you made it this far, subscribe, give the show a rating, comment. Again, we started with parenting topics initially, and then it turned into gymnastics.
Yeah.
I also think we're going to do a gymnastics for dummies video on our YouTube channel. So
Really?
Jump over there to the Sean and Andrew channel when you get a chance, and we'll see you there. I'm Andrew.
I'm Sean.
Peace.